Hi guys, I'm gearing up giving the Motorola 5T13P an alignment. Now, as you can see, there's a whole jumble of wires, but don't worry, these wires are only there to provide AC power to my function generator, which is the heat kit IG102, which I discussed in another video, and the radio itself, or the chassis I should say. I also set my function generator, or the heat kit signal generator, to 455 kilohertz. Now you see it does vary a little bit, but let's face it, it's a tube functioning generator and it's not entirely stable, although I've been letting it heat up now for almost 10 minutes or so. But let's say I'm fairly close to 455 kilohertz, and I think that will serve the purpose. So the goal is this. I had a look at the alignment instructions on the schematic, and they are fairly simple and they consist of really 3 steps. But what I'm going to do now is the first of those 3. The first step involves this. I should connect the output of the function generator, or the signal generator, to pin 7 of the grid of the converter tube. Now I had to think a little bit what they meant by converter tube, but it turns out the converter tube is this one. It's actually the 12BE6, which is connected, as you can see on the schematic, to the antenna coil and to the local oscillator coil. So what I'm supposed to do is to inject a 455 kilohertz signal on one of the grids, which is attached to pin 7 of this tube. And if you read on, if you see under the 455 kilocycle mention here, you see 400 and a squiggle and then mod. I think they mean that you should modulate the 455 kilohertz signal with a 400 hertz audio wave. Now my IG102 has an internal modulator, and that generates around 300 hertz. That should be just fine. I don't think it really matters a lot whether it's 300 or 400 hertz modulation. And then they say that the tuning gang should be fully open. Now again, I had to think a little bit what they would mean by tuning gang fully open. I realized that they were probably talking about the tuning capacitor, which you see here, and that the plates should be completely open. In other words, if you turn it counterclockwise, you close the oscillator, what am I saying? You close the variable capacitor. If you turn it clockwise, you slide the movable discs out of the fixed discs of the variable capacitor. In other words, you open up you open it up completely. So I think I interpreted it correctly by setting it like this. If any one of you has a different opinion or has a tip about this, then please let me know, because it does sound a bit confusing when you read tuning gang should be fully open. Anyway, what I then should do is to measure voltage across the voice coil. Now in a radio there can be only one voice coil, and that's the speaker. So I attached the multimeter, you see over there, to the output, or well, the output of the audio transformer, which goes to the speaker. So I did that too. Now the very last thing they mention is that I should adjust A1, A2, A3 and A4, and I should adjust for maximum output. They probably mean that I should hear maximum volume. So in fact, I should also see maximum readout on my multimeter. Now, again, it might be a little bit confusing what they mean by A1, A2, A3 and A4, because that would suggest 4 IF cans, while in fact on the radio chassis there are only 2 IF coils. And once again I realized that there is a hole on top of the IF can. You can't see it just there, but on top of the IF can there is an opening. But if you turn the chassis on its side, then you see 2 holes. You see a hole here and you see one here. Now these 2 holes, as it turns out, go right down and up into the bottom of the IF cans. So in other words, you can find the coils respectively A2 and A4 via the bottom of the chassis, and the coils A1, which is on this IF can, and A3, which is on this IF can, via the top openings. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So give me a minute and I'll be back with the next update.